Hello, fabulous scholars. We are going to finish The Miller's Tale. It was almost done yesterday, but we didn't quite finish it. So The Miller's Tale is about the carpenter Oswald, who has married a lovely wife named Allison, who really likes practical jokes. And Allison and Nicholas, a friend of hers, are in the middle of a joke where they have convinced Oswald the carpenter that a flood is coming to drown the entire world. So Oswald is in a barrel hanging from the ceiling, waiting for the water to rise high enough so he can cut the ropes and sail away. Meanwhile, another person is knocking on Allison's window. That'd be Absalom. He is in love with Allison and thinks that she is going to marry him and run away, totally ignoring that she's already married to Oswald. And Allison is worried that Absalom is going to wreck her practical joke with Nicholas, and so she wants Absalom to go away. And that's where we left off, so let's see what happens. But still, Absalom was at the window. "What shall I do?" hissed Allison. "I suppose he must have his kiss," said Nicholas, rising from the couch. The window was high up, higher than a man's head. In a voice as high as a filleted cod, Nicholas whispered through the shutters, "Dearest boy, how I've longed for this moment! But close your eyes. It's not fitting that a woman should be seen in her nightgown, even on the darkest of nights, and even by one she loves so dearly." And Nicholas leaned out of the window to plant a kiss on Absalom's waiting lips. Allison burst into such a fit of giggles that she had to stuff her apron into her mouth, and still the laughter snuffled and snorted in her nose. Down on the street, Absalom heard the giggle, and he felt Nicholas's beard tickle his chin and guessed at the truth. He danced off down the road with such a heat of temper that his vest all but scorched. But not one sound escaped his lips, only silent, wicked curses. Nicholas gave a little snigger of his, and they returned to the couch to continue laughing. Tap, tap, tap. Absalom was back again. "Allison, dearest, that one kiss has fired such love in me that I shan't sleep a wink unless you kiss me again." "Oh, make him be quiet, Nicholas," hissed Allison, and Nicholas smirked. Going to the window, he called through the shutters, "This must be the last one, dear heart. Now close your eyes, won't you? You may kiss me now." And edging to the windowsill, he offered Absalom the seat of his pants. Absalom was waiting for him. Absalom had been to the forge, that's the blacksmith's fire, and heated a branding iron in the fire. Now he stood waving it, and as Nicholas's trousers came through the window, Absalom lunged. They heard the scream up in Branbury. "Ah!" Up in his barrel, the carpenter woke to hear a noise very like the end of the world, and Nicholas's voice yelling, "Water! Water!" as he galloped around the room and tripped over the couch. "It's come! The rains have come!" thought Oswald, and he cut through the ropes tying his barrel to the roof, thinking it was time to float away. He dropped like a stone right on top of the couch, his wife, and Nicholas. The cat, who had been sleeping in Oswald's lap, gave a yowl and apparently leapt onto Miss Lund's chair. Oh, no, leapt out the window. It found the street full of neighbors tumbling out of beds and out of their doors to find the cause of the commotion. The neighbors ran in to find Oswald, Nicholas, Allison, the couch, a barrel, and a plentiful supply of bread and cheese, all smashed in a heap. The carpenter was shrieking, "It's the end of the world! Swim for your lives!" And a trickle of smoke was still arising from the seat of Nicholas's trousers. Who said what, and whether they were believed at the end of the story, I shan't ever know, for at this point the reeve, the carpenter, came back with a tongue like a fly swatter and demanded that the miller be disqualified from our competition. He only told that story to spite me. I'm a carpenter, aren't I? My name is Oswald, isn't it? I thought he was going to chew the ears off his horse. He looked so aggrieved. That means angry and upset. Then the prioress Eglantine, she's a nun, chimed in. Oh, you have made me blush, Monsieur Miller. Regardez, Monsieur, je suis blushing, she exclaimed, fanning her snow-white cheeks. By St. Loy, what a coarse story. She adjusted her wimple so that it sat well back on her forehead. What we really want is a nice story about nice people. No one will mind me saying so, but if we start having stories about the lower class people, we are bound to end up with stories like that. We want a finer bit of story altogether. Glowing phrases, uplifting thoughts. I'm sure there is someone here who can tell us a story in the grand style. The miller scowled at her. Lower class of people? Indeed. I suppose you want stuff about princesses and heroic princes galloping about on chargers spouting bits of Latin. Prioress Eglantine sniffed. Fancy you knowing about romantic literature, a man of your low breeding. Sorry, I'm turning too many pages. The lapdog, sprawled across the pommel of the prioress's saddle, began to wriggle and whine. Perhaps it could sense the feelings of Matt and the other working men towards its mistress. Sure, little fellow, lisped the nun. Has the nasty coarse man upset you? There's the pilgrims, and you can see the nun with her puppy. Brother John, the priest accompanying the prioress, rode his horse into the center of the group and tried to take the sting out of the quarrel. I wonder why poets do always write about princes and princesses, he said as if he were thinking out loud. I vouch I could tell a story in the grand style about the most ordinary folk. Eglantine looked annoyed. Mon cher Jean, do we have to have another story about the squalid working people? The miller and his cronies growled menacingly. Brother John was unperturbed. I'll go you one better, he said. I'll tell you a story about a couple of common chickens, and you'll see if it doesn't have all the romance of Venus and Adonis and all the excitement of Homer's Odyssey. Eglantine primped herself in the saddle and, getting out a small mirror, examined her face intently. A strand of hair had escaped her wimple. She curled it around one finger, and it looked most fetching, coiled beneath her cheekbone. All right, Jean dear, but do make it poetical. You know how sensitive I am. So, Brother John began. There was once a small house miles from town. Its one room was dark with soot. Excuse me, said the Oxford scholar, but that doesn't sound grand poetical English to me. All your words are so short. John, scowled the prioress Eglantine, this had better be poetical. Please don't distress yourself, lady. Sir, said Brother John, patting down their anxieties with large white hands. I'm saving the poetry for the hero and the heroine. So now we're starting the priest's tale. There was once a small house miles from town. Its one room was dark with soot from the fire, and it let in no light. The wife who lived there was poor and led a plain life with her 2 young girls. There was milk and cheese and bread to eat, but no rich food or wines. Their clothes were drab, that means dark-colored or kind of boring, and they had to work hard all day, but they kept fit that way and slept well. In the yard were 3 big pigs, 2 cows, and a sheep. Oh, and there was an old rooster, too. Now listen and lend an ear to the story of heroism and scholarly wisdom set within that farmyard fence. Hear now and give ear as I describe the magnificence of that aforementioned rooster. So there's the farmyard and the rooster, the hero of the story. Crowned at birth with the name of Chanticleer, no rooster in all the land could crow more gloriously. His head was emblazoned with a comb crest as scarlet as deep-sea coral, crenellated like the battlements of a castle wall. His beak gleamed like the blackest jet. His legs and feet were of a blue equal to the blue ceiling of the world, with cloud pennants as white as his claws. Mantling his noble shoulders was a cloak of plumes, the color of burnished gold. This paragon of roosters had 7 lovely wives, each of their gowns tinted with sublime gold. But the fairest by far, whose throat was mottled with the very colors of beauty, was Madame Pertelote. Was there ever such a charming, witty, courteous, cultured companion than that gracious bird? Chanticleer loved Madame Pertelote with a passionate tenderness, and together they would sing love duets. If you have ever heard the voices of a rooster and a hen, I dare say you can imagine just how sweetly those two sang. But early one morning, Chanticleer awoke, fear clutching at his noble heart. "Oh, whoa!" he cried. "Such a terrible dream!" He woke Madame Pertelote with his shouting. "I dreamed I was in the terraced gardens of this palace of ours. I was strolling between the ornamental lake and the maze, taking in the view and enjoying our estates. Suddenly, a ferocious beast sprang at me. It was like a dog, but with a reddish coat and pointed nose, and black tips to its ears, and a tail like a firebrand. Oh, and those teeth, and those blazing eyes." We'll find out what happens to Chanticleer tomorrow. Bye, scholars.